Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuning in to the Mellow Nation podcast, and boy oh boy do we have quite the ecstatic guest for you. If only I had set up a proper fanfare for the one and only Charles Levier. How has your morning been, my good sir?
Today's been good. Very stressful starting off, but I think I'm getting back in there. You know, feels good to be out of the house and able to walk around this nice, beautiful, sunny day.
Phenomenal. So, we'll segue into the main event. I'll start off with a relatively softball question. That being, what got you to fall into the rabbit hole of becoming a pianist?
Well, I started out as a pianist when I was about 5, and then I more or less hated it with a very large passion. And then my dad kind of forced me to be a drummer. That's actually my first instrument, was drums for about 15 years. Every time his drummers would flake on him, he would kind of just throw me on the set and be like, practice. So if they do it again, you're up. So from then on, I kind of just played. And then I don't know what happened with the piano. I think I just touched it and I felt a spark again.
A spark. Man, that is fascinating.
From then on out, last year to now, I mean, I've just been going as much as I can. Feels really good.
That is very interesting to hear.
Yeah.
You had a drummer backgrounds essentially.
Yeah.
You were basically the swing.
I was basically the swing.
So your dad was basically a band?
Yes, he was my band. I was his band slave.
Bro.
So, yeah.
Dude, what an honor it must have been.
It was fun. I had a lot of fun times. Learned a lot of very valuable skills for my music career.
Were you also passionate with the drums? Were you?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I still ask myself to this day. I feel like drums are, I feel like they're my secondary instrument now, but at heart and my core, I feel like that's where I was supposed to be. I'm glad I learned it, because now I have a lot more influence music-wise, so I can compose a lot more things that I want to do in my future. So.
Man, that's fascinating. So would you consider yourself a sort of like a multi-instrumentalist? Are you?
No.
I'm
very far from a multi-instrumentalist. Just the two. Just the two.
Just the two.
I can play what are they called? Hand acoustics, bongos, congas, djembes. I could play those as well. But aside from piano and drums, I think I just want to stay there. I don't think I want to learn anything else.
What would you say was your greatest musical inspiration, and how so?
Musical inspiration.
Like your muse, like any bands you look up to that you listen to or whatever.
There's this band, their name is Snarky Puppy. I listened, they came out with an album about now it's been 10 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, 2012, they came out with an album called We Like It Here. And ever since then, I've listened to that album every single day of my life. If you were to go back and look at my watch time, I probably have over 10,000 hours listening to that album over and over again. I would practice my drums on it too. Those would be my practice songs. Even though as hard as they are, if I just kept practicing them for 10 years straight, then hey, of course I'd be it. But clearly I haven't been able to finish a couple of the songs. They are still extremely hard for me. But that's definitely one of my biggest musical inspirations is them. And a pianist called Long Long. He's phenomenal. Every time he touches the piano, I want to tear up. It's amazing.
Oh man, that is
the passion in his playing, the way he's able to move his hands so fluidly. That's what I want to aspire to be when I.
Hand coordination is definitely something fundamental when it comes to being a pianist.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Goodness, that is mesmerizing. I must imagine that you're quite enlightened by seeing these performers or whatever, especially with the devotion that you mentioned about religiously listening to.
Exactly.
Snarky
Puppy. I religiously every single day in the car when I go to sleep, put it on repeat, just keep it going.
Oh man, that is amazing to hear, dude.
Yeah.
If you were to give any advice to any aspiring pianist out there in the audience, what wise words would you part on to them?
That's a good question. I still have to figure out this stuff when I tell myself this.
So just think of it as self-motivation. What would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself?
Your younger self.
It's gonna get hard. It's gonna get very hard. This is easy to learn, but extremely hard to master.
The skill ceiling is extremely hard.
Every piece of technique, every arpeggio, it's gonna get hard, and you're gonna sit there and you are going to cry on the piano. Why do I know this? Because I've done it before. So
you're talking from experience.
I'm talking from experience. I've cried in a practice room more times than I can count. And I will say that if you want to keep going, then you need to have the mental capacity to sit there and be like, it's gonna get better, But right now, I'm just gonna have to stick through this. I got this, but
There's always a slump, but
there's always gonna be a slump. You are always gonna be like, I don't even want to practice today. You're gonna sit there. You're gonna bang your hands on the keyboard. You're gonna do everything in your power to stop practicing. But if you really do love music, you will be drawn back, and when you do, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's like that spark that you mentioned before when it came to like, you gave up originally. You mentioned that you gave up on the piano, right? And then focused on drums. But
I
then
focused
you touched
solely on drums.
But then you touched the piano and you're like, you felt the connection.
I felt it again. I think it was my whole life. I tried rejecting that piano.
It's like rekindling a
and
fire.
I finally came back to it. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, how old were you when you got back into playing the piano?
This was last year, so I was 17.
Last year?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the
And
gap.
before that, I hadn't played since kindergarten, and that was it.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, so it's been about a year. Well, it's gonna be 2 years in January.
So what you're saying is it's never too late to get back.
It's never too late. I met a grandma who was playing drums. She was 86 years old. She was just learning them.
Wow.
Yeah, she was doing good.
She was. Oh my goodness.
Moving them hands, arthritis and all. It was,
wow.
It was good. Yeah.
Great to see that we have aspiring senior citizens that are willing to live up to their dreams, do what they always wanted to do, because YOLO, you only got one life. So that's how it is. If I recall correctly, you mentioned that you were also a roller skating professional, correct?
Well, I wouldn't say professional, but I would say being modest.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
I'd like to be a little bit modest. I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I was definitely up there. I've been invited to a couple of nights for skating with professionals. It was fun. We had a lot of fun those days.
So were you like a volunteer? Were you one of the people?
No, I was actually.
You were an attendee, a customer?
I was working. I worked at a skating rink. I've been skating my whole life. Since I was a baby, I've been in skates. So I was over here one wheel like this, skating around, having a great time.
Does it alleviate yourself from all your like earthly stress?
It does. It's nice to be able to skate with music. It's nice to be able to just do my own thing, have my own headphones on, and just be free. But I will say, I'm kind of glad I dropped it. I haven't been skating in about 2 months now.
You gotta make sacrifices.
I had to sacrifice it, unfortunately. It was nice.
I got something to mention real quick.
What's that?
So a sort of a shout out to what you were doing. Screenwriting is something that you were really fascinated with because, as you mentioned, it helps alleviate your mind. You don't have to worry about that.
I call it
you don't get
free
depressed.
therapy session with yourself. Yeah.
I know who you're quoting.
Exactly.
Free therapy.
Free therapy right there. So
what was your experience? What got you into screenwriting? Do you just like movies? Do you just like
actually was
making up your own stories?
That was my first time ever even touching that aspect of art. I watched sonnets and then I went back a second time and I wrote down some questions. I was like, okay, well, let me answer these questions. And then from there, I was like, I should write a play. And then that entire night, from like 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., I finished the first 3 acts. And then the next day, I just finished the last couple. And I was like, this is cool.
Wow.
I like this. Yeah.
So would you say you would continue pursuing this writing, or is it just an every once in a while?
It might just be every once in a while.
I
don't think I would like to completely expand on it like I would with music, but
I getcha. I get what you're saying, man. So let's see. We're at the 15-minute mark, so that about wraps up our interview.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Charles, it was lovely having you here.
It was amazing.
I would do a handshake, even though this is just an audio podcast.
Exactly,
but it was
true.
You're an absolute. I would totally interview you again. But
if you need me, just let me know.
Of course, man.
All
right. So just to wrap that up, goodbye, fellow Mellow Nation enjoyers. Signing out.